Hello there, friends, and thanks for being with us as always today. This is your host, Erin Bradley, and I have a unique episode of the Pursuing Freedom podcast today where I'm going to introduce you to my friend and business mentor, Stephen Woessner. Stephen is the host of Onward Nation podcast, an incredible business podcast. And in this episode, we are flipping the script here because Stephen actually interviewed me as a guest on his show, and we thought that the conversation might be of value to you as well. So I hope that you do find some enjoyment in hearing this interview where we unpack all things healthy financial mindset, pushing through limiting beliefs, navigating struggles and failures on your path to freedom, and ultimately helping you to build a life you don't need a vacation from. So enjoy, and we'll see you next time.
So without further ado, welcome to Onward Nation, Erin.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I'm so happy to be here.
I am just, well, like I said, over the moon excited that you said yes. Thank you for saying yes. So super, super excited for you to take us behind the curtain and tell us your story. If you don't mind, let's start there. Take us there. Tell us more about that decision first in 2007, and then take us into that coffee shop because that was a monumental thing. And when that happened, you knew you needed to make a change. So tell us first about the decision in 2007.
Okay, so thanks again for having me. I'm really excited to share the story. It's not pretty, but it is. It's a good one. I was, 26 years old or so, and had fallen to working for a mortgage company in Denver, Colorado, and I was working at the desk, doing the desk job thing. And after a while, I realized that I wanted to be like the salespeople because they were, doing yoga in the middle of the afternoon and showing up in jeans and a t-shirt and then putting on a suit when it was time to go to closing. And they just seemed like they had so much freedom and flexibility. And I had always been after freedom and flexibility. Let's put that first and foremost. Like I had traveled Europe for a couple of years after college. I was kind of avoiding the real world and had that kind of limiting belief around money in general of like, I only need so much to be happy and I only need so much to get by, which if you've ever had that limiting self-talk, then you know that it's not a great strategy, especially for entrepreneurship. So when I went 100% commission in 2007 in pursuit of this idea of, I loved the idea of being able to work from anywhere. I always was interested in travel. So I saw that as a loan officer in the mortgage world, I could work from anywhere, visiting family in Philadelphia or family in the Florida Keys or whatever the case might be. So that was very attractive to me. So I decided to take the leap in 2007, and I'll never forget the summer of 2008. It was promptly about a year later, and I had a referral for a client, and I was so broke, maxed on all my credit cards that I really did not have enough money for gas. So I rode my bike 5 miles to this client meeting, and I got there early because I wanted to, wipe the sweat off and make sure that I was all put together before the client got there. And I even remember the outfit I was wearing because it's like, what can you wear that's professional and works for riding a bike 5 miles? So I got there and I got to Starbucks and I was ordering my coffee. And unfortunately, the client got there early too. So he walked up as my card was being declined.
Oh,
for
no.
A small cup of coffee. Yes. The worst part was that he's like, Erin? And I'm like, okay. My coffee was just declined. And I actually don't know which credit card has $2 on it. So rather than try another card and have him see 2 cards be declined for a tall cup of coffee, I just lied and said it was my debit card and I was going to have to call the bank. And then he bought my coffee. And I remember just being mortified. This is like rock bottom for me financially. Although I had a bike, so I wasn't totally broke, right? I still had a bike, so that was good. But it was actually a month before our wedding. And I remember thinking that I was so glad we had planned a big wedding because I was banking on the wedding gifts, the money from the wedding gifts to pay our bills. And I called my dad at the time and I said, my dad had made the leap to entrepreneurship in his probably mid to late 20s. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. And I called him and I said, how did you do it? How did you go 100% commission? Because this is so much harder than I thought. And he said, let me ask you something. He said, do you think you're going to be good at this? And I said, yeah, I do. I actually think I could be pretty good at this. And he said, well, then you do whatever it takes.
Wow.
He said, you weren't born yet when I made the leap from my engineering, safe job to being a stockbroker, financial planner. He said, you weren't born yet, but your mother and I had the electricity shut off. We had the bill collectors calling. And he said, if you want it bad enough, you're going to have to do whatever it takes. And he went on to become a sales trainer to salespeople in his company up and down the East Coast. And he said, well, I don't want to say it because my dad never cussed, but he cussed. And he just said that he used to tell the salespeople that there's a reason that some salespeople can generate a greater income than, lawyers and doctors or whatever traditional industries there were back then. And he's like, because it's really effing hard. and I'd never heard my dad cuss. And he said that to me over the phone. And it made me feel okay. Like, this is really hard. And I'm going to do whatever it takes. I remember opening another credit card and buying internet leads and doing whatever it took. And then a check came in the mail for $2,000 for my dad to help with the bills. And it said, pay me back when you can. And I did eventually. But yeah, it was a turning point for me because when I see people that are struggling in entrepreneurship, I always encourage them to just keep going because it's not supposed to be pretty. And I certainly wasn't prepared. I'd come from making $900 a month cash under the table in Barcelona as an English teacher working part-time. And I used to sell beers on the street corners at music festivals to get rent money. And so I didn't have anywhere to go but up, So, some people come into it with a savings account and things like that. I didn't have any of that. So I went into debt. But, you just have to keep going. You just have to never quit. And know that however long it takes, if you decide and then you show up and you keep showing up day after day, eventually something's going to click and you're going to find success. So that wasn't the last time I failed. It was one of the first, but it wasn't the last. I failed a lot of times. I think one of the other take.
So do you think it was well, let me rephrase that. What role, if any, do you think the lack of safety net played in that transformation?
Well, I think it comes down to one thing is that I was determined. There was no version of me ever wanting a clock in, clock out 9 to 5 with a steady paycheck. Like the interesting thing about it though, is that back then, even for years, well into 2011, I continued on with the limiting beliefs around money. So, even when I say I did whatever it took in 2008, 2009, I hired a business coach. I hired my first business coach. I continued to have coaches ever since then. I would be coached and learn to push through my fears and push through my comfort zone. And I kind of would go through the motions and check the boxes and do the things they told me to do because I wanted it bad enough. I was determined, but I didn't know what I really wanted other than freedom and flexibility. And so the financial piece to that was a struggle for me. And it was interesting because my first business coach ever in 2009, they did a personality profile test where they talked about, where one of the results of the test is your relationship with money. Mm-hmm. And I think this is really interesting, especially as we're in goal setting time of year for next year. To know what your relationship with money is and whether it's tangible or intangible. So if your relationship with money is tangible, you're someone for whom you feel safer, stronger, happier. You have an emotional relationship with money when your bank account is growing and when the paychecks are coming in. So you can truly be fired up and excited by the size of the paycheck, the revenue, the income, and that's valid. And if you're someone for whom money is intangible, like me, then money is just a means to an end. And so when you're doing your goal setting for the coming year, you should be setting your goals based on the experiences that the income can afford you. So there's an anchor there for your goals and why you want what you want. Because for someone like me, if I was to say, I want to make $500,000 next year, because I don't have that tangible relationship with money, there's no real anchor, there's no emotion, there's no connection there. And so I have to say, I want to spend a month traveling Europe with my family, or I want to hire another person, or whatever the case might be, because then I know that the volume and the revenue goals will afford me the experiences that anchor in my heart. And so for years I struggled because I didn't have that. I wanted the freedom and flexibility, but I didn't really find the financial freedom for quite some time. It wasn't until I read Secrets of the Millionaire Mind and I realized how limiting my beliefs were around money and the whole idea of having a thermostat where if I say I only need to make $75,000 to be happy, but I really want to enjoy all my time freedom, and then things come up like friends are getting married and you're buying plane tickets and hotel rooms and oh, I want to travel, but I'm not paying attention to the money. Next thing you know, you're in debt again. So it wasn't the first time or the last time I was in debt in 2008 because I really had to work through all that. I had to work through that relationship of being willing to receive, being open to having abundance in my life and feeling deserving and worthy and capable of having that. Does that make sense? So
it makes total sense. This was literally, no joke here, huge aha for me. You'd giggle if you saw my notes. I literally just wrote huge aha for me and underlined it because when you just talked about intangible and tangible, and I think about goal setting, and I'm thinking about that through the lens of Onward Nation business owners, I suspect that was an aha for them too of like, oh, I want to have a $10 million business next year. But then if they have an intangible relationship with money about the experiences that affords, that is huge. That is a really, really big aha. So let me make sure that I get the genesis of the aha. So is it the intangible, tangible? Was that from Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, that book, or is that different?
No, so that was from business coaching with Buffini and Company. Brian Buffini, he has a very successful real estate coaching organization that's really amazing.
Okay.
And they have a proprietary personality profile test that they do with all of their new clients. And so that was actually unique in terms of I'm sure most of the listeners at some point or another has done a personality profile test.
Right.
So this particular test result was unique from anything I've ever done since. And it stuck with me because I realized that, even as I lead business planning workshops now for real estate agents and lenders, I always encourage people to think about that relationship with money before they write their goals, because we tend to write our goals from our head, thinking about what we should do based on what we've done before, or what's realistic based on what we've done before, instead of what's really in our heart and what we really wish for and dream of, even if it's unrealistic and improbable. And so when somebody sits down to write their goals for the next year and they're not paying attention to their relationship with money, and they say, well, because I did 30 million this year, I should do 35 million next year, and there's no anchor there, then it's hard to find that motivation to prompt you into activity to make those results inevitable versus, improbable, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And literally big aha as I'm thinking about my own business planning. It's like, sure, putting together pro forma and that kind of stuff. Yeah, you should do that because that's, good, sound business management. But then when something comes along during the year, and let's say it's a big thing and predictive ROI, and we might need $30,000 or $50,000 to fund it. It's like, well, geez, we have $50,000 in extra cash flow laying around. We've got a team, we've got investment, all that kind of stuff. Where are we going to get the money? And typically my answer is, I don't know, I'll figure that out. And then something happens and we're able to figure that out, and like, boom, you're able to fund it. And so when you're talking about intangible, I'm thinking, well, maybe that's me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, so the Secrets of the Millionaire Mind digs into this idea of a thermostat. So in your home, if it's the summertime and you set the air conditioner, you set the thermostat, let's say, for 68 degrees.
Okay.
And when the temperature of the home goes above 68 degrees, then the AC kicks on and it brings it back down to 68, but it won't go below 68. And same with your heat. If you set your heat to 72 degrees, then the heat will kick on when the room temperature drops below 72. But once it gets to 72, it kicks off, right? So if your thermostat is set, for example, to a certain income, your financial thermostat is set to $100,000 a year, for example, it's going to be very hard for you to make 150. And if you do, you might find a way to sabotage it without realizing it, and you end up back at 100,000.
Wow.
And so then it was like, for the person who I had been self-employed for 4 years already when I read that, but I had been experiencing a lot of ups and downs. So I had a good year, but then I remember in 2011, we had our first child in 2010. My husband went back to grad school and quit his job. And a year later, it's 2011. And I had that financial mindset of, I only need enough to get by. Well, a year after he quit his job, we found ourselves $35,000 in credit card debt. Again, coincidentally, the exact same amount as his income. And it's like, I guess we didn't adjust our spending, but we also had a kid and, anyways, we clearly like to have fun. But I remember having this turning point then where I told myself, enough is enough.
Mhm.
I don't want to live like this, because
Right.
freedom and flexibility is not enjoyable if you can't afford it. And the stress of financial stress and ups and downs is too much for me to want to live like that, because it was robbing me of enjoying the freedom I was seeking. And that was a time where I decided, okay, I am going to get serious about this and I am going to create something amazing.
Mhm.
And when I invested my energy, attention, emotion, etc., in 2011 into my business, it more than doubled from 2011 to 2012. And again, it almost fell apart because I was unprepared for that level of growth, and I didn't have any support, and I was pregnant with my second child, and I was burning out, and I started selling skincare with a multi-level marketing company as my exit strategy. I was literally ready to quit and throw it all in, because it was just like, well, now I've lost all my time freedom in exchange for financial, and that wasn't the way to live either. So now I'm all about helping people identify the reality that you can have it all. You can have financial freedom and time freedom with the appropriate planning and, visioning and identifying your gifts and scaling and leveraging and all those things. So that's why I say I fail. I fail many times.
Well, okay. So, and not to sound like trying to sweep that under the rug. We all fail, right? We all learn from that, though, if we're smart. And so, is it important to fail? Sure. Do we want to lose our house because we failed? Of course not. But those lessons along the way. I mean, I'm a firm believer that failing it's a law of nature. I mean, for Pete's sake, when you go to the gym, you everybody accepts the no pain no gain type of mentality. But then we think when we get into business that it should all be sunshine and rainbows, and it doesn't work that way. So take us into the business today. One of the things that I really admire about you is the intentionality around your thought leadership. You've written a book, you've dedicated yourself to a podcast, you're creating all of this great content. So where did all of that intentionality come from? Like, why did you decide to start doing that work? Because that's not easy either.
Well, so in 2011, when I read The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, I also had a friend give me the book, The Go-Giver.
Hmm.
If you haven't read The Go-Giver and you're hearing this, you need to read it. There's a whole series of books by Bob Burg and John David Mann. And it's basically a strategy, a business strategy around the idea that if you can give more value than you expect to receive in payment, then the law of reciprocity will ensure that you will find success. And I remember thinking, after all these years of having coaches and doing the work and checking the boxes and kind of grinding it out, but not really finding joy in the process, I realized that, wow, that was my aha moment. Like, hang on, I can just focus on giving more value than I expect to receive in payment. Like, if I could focus on figuring out what's really going on with you today, Stephen, get to the bottom of what's going on in your life, your business, and figure out somehow, some way that I can be a resource to you. I don't really have to talk about mortgages. Mortgages end up coming as a byproduct and from other avenues, because I'm kind of figuring out that I can get into activity. I can make quote unquote sales calls, and I can send handwritten notes and do events and all that stuff. But the whole purpose of my activity was, if we want to call it the technical terms, right, for sales, like that purpose of my activity is to figure out what's going on with you and be a resource to you.
Right.
And the byproduct is that I close mortgages, and that's where my income comes from. So I started building this referral directory of trusted local service providers so that I could be the person who's got a guy for everything. So that if you, my friend, my client, have a need, whether it be health and wellness, financial, home services, whatever, then I can say, I've got a resource for you and I'm going to connect you with this person. And then I'm giving value to what I refer to as my tribe of trusted local service providers. So I'm giving value to my village, which is my database. I'm giving value to my tribe by sending them business. But then I'm going deeper with my tribe, like what's going on with you and your business and how can I be a resource to you? Maybe I recommend a book. Maybe I recommend a training. Maybe I connect you with a coach. And so it's always this idea of like, if I can just give value to every person I meet, that's going to be enough. And then from 2011, like I said, 2011, 2012, the business more than doubled. And then I started teaching that strategy to real estate agents. And I saw the aha moment of like, this one specific strategy can get people away from the fear of picking up the phone, thinking I'm picking up the phone to get a deal, which feels very self-serving and results in inertia. Nothing happens. We don't do the work. because we're feeling really like we have an agenda behind everything we do. And shifting that to, I'm picking up the phone to call my friend and tell them that I'm building this referral directory and ask them for a referral of a service provider they think should be part of my referral directory. Then I'm connecting with that person and I'm in activity, I'm in flow. And that I saw people resonating with that strategy and getting results. So then in 2016, fast forward 5 years, the business continued to grow and I started hiring team members and I started my own branch of the company. And then I saw the importance of scaling the business and having help. And I then put this strategy into a book called Pursuing Freedom, which is really more like a pamphlet. And I give it to people for free because I just want to help people because I know I'm not alone in this. And so that happened. And then in 2018, we turned it into a podcast, Pursuing Freedom, where we specifically interview folks that can bring value to real estate agents and the real estate community as a whole. Basically, I'm just on a mission to help other people succeed far faster than I did because clearly the struggle is real and it wasn't pretty. So if I can help other people, then, that's my purpose. That's what I'm here for. So.
And that's such a lovely perspective in about being helpful. And so, writing a book, no matter what the length, it's hard, takes discipline to do. Having a consistent podcast like you have done now for about 18 months, I think, if I remember the timeline correctly, that's not easy. That's hard. And you've had some excellent interviews, including when you interviewed Bob. And so what has when I say response, I'm not talking about dollars and cents, but what has the reaction been from the community? My guess is that they feel like you're there, like they now feel part of a tribe of commonality. But tell us, what has the reaction been from the community?
Well, when you say community, I think it's important to touch upon something that a coach told me one time that has stuck with me that I think is a very powerful thing in life and in business. And it's the 25% rule. So he told me years ago that 25% of people will love you no matter what. And 25% of people will never love you no matter what. And the 50% in between are fair weather friends. And you can have a happy life and a successful business if you just focus on your 25%. And so whatever industry you're in, you've got clients and some clients say yes to wanting your services and some clients pass on you. And because of the 25% rule, I can remove the negative emotional attachment to losing a client, so to speak, because I can say not my 25%. So when I talk about my community, I'm thinking about my tribe. I'm thinking about my 25%. So it's only 25% of the population that I think is going to resonate with my message. And my message is more about how to take that go-giver strategy and implement it into your life and business so that you become a lighthouse that attracts your tribe, as opposed to somebody who's out there pursuing and seeking because the go-getter philosophy doesn't resonate with me. And the thing is, if it could be that if I was someone for whom money was tangible, I would be more motivated by deals, dollars, transactions, etc. But because I'm more motivated by experiences and freedom and time, the human connection to me is what fuels me. It's what fills my bucket. And I just know that I'm not alone in that, and that there are successful salespeople out there that struggle with that connection between I need money to survive and I want to have an abundant life, but I feel there's like a negative association with me hunting for dollars and cents, and instead they want to pursue the relationship and have the dollars and cents come as a byproduct. And so the response from my community is overwhelming because people feel like, yes, that's enough. Like that's enough. I can go out every day and intend to give value to every single person I meet. And that includes the people you bump into at the grocery store, at the coffee shop, et cetera. It's not just like having an agenda behind every interaction you have. Because if you're someone for whom money is intangible and you can be fueled by those human interactions, then what happens is you get energized by the experience of giving value. And because you're energized, you're more enthused, there's a ripple effect with every interaction you have, and in such a way that you're a magnet, that you literally will magnetically attract what you're seeking because you're on purpose, you're passionate, you're enthused, you're energized, and you're not like checking boxes and doing what you think you should do to get the deals. Does that make sense? It's like,
it does make sense. You're giving some excellent mentorship here for not only like a broader business philosophy and mindset, but also I'm running that through the filter of a content strategy. When you're able to create content in your podcast, you're able to create workshops and webinars and all of this stuff, and you're able to focus that on the 25% who where you can be super, super helpful. They're going to find a lot of value in it. They're going to love you for it, and they're going to feel honored to be a part of the tribe and a part of the community. Awesome. As opposed to, I'm going to create this business planning workshop and I'm going to run untargeted Facebook ads because I want to be able to serve every business owner, the 28 million business owners in this country, and trying to be that. That's not a thought leader. You're a thought leader because you're so focused on the 25%. That's smart.
Well, the other thing with that is that a lot of folks in today's day and age know that creating content, social media, video is obviously an important part of building our brand. And a lot of folks get stuck on what to say or what to do because they're so hung up on what they're trying to get from the content. And if you can shift your message in every interaction online or in person or over the phone or whatever the case might be, you can shift your focus to how do I provide value in a way that I'm educating, that I'm empowering, or I'm supporting, or whatever the case might be. You will find that the content then flows from you more easily because it's flowing from a place of authenticity to serve. And I think most human beings are wired to serve first and foremost. And it's really just a matter of, if you're someone who's listening and for you, money is tangible, then by all means, your focus, your goal setting should be anchored in volume, units, income, whatever the case might be. And there's no right or wrong. Just knowing that about yourself is going to give you better results from your own goal setting if you know how to set your goals based on your DNA. But if you're someone for whom money is intangible, then everything you do should be anchored in how you make people feel and the experiences that the money affords you. And you should still have financial goals. Don't get me wrong. Like, I have big, crazy, hairy, audacious goals, and I set them and I put them over here and I write them down. But my energy and my attention, my focus, my activity is all towards the experiences that I'm either providing for people or that I'm getting to enjoy myself with my personal life, professional life, all the things. Right. And it's interesting because like when you get clear on your 25%, for example, as a mortgage lender, most lenders are advised to go cold call real estate agents every Monday and convince them that they should have coffee with you and then send you their deals. And I'm like, well, just because your job title is realtor doesn't mean you're my 25%.
Right.
So if you get clear on your 25%, you can be more of a sniper rifle, which makes you more efficient and more effective. And you don't have to feel like you're taking the shotgun approach to growing your business and you're throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it sticks. You get really clear on what kind of people do I want to serve? What kind of clients do I want to have? Who do I want to hang out with? Who do I want to refer business to and receive referrals from? And you can get hyper focused and you can cut the fat. And then you're not on the hamster wheel because you can have a really efficient, effective work day and then have a lot of fun around that, which is what it's all about, right?
Well, it is, and a really powerful lesson. I'm so glad that you took us there because, that's the difference between abundance, the abundant mentality, and then scarcity or lack. And you just did a great example of explaining how you can have abundance by actually trimming down and really focusing on your 25%. I know that we're quickly running out of time, and I want to be respectful of your compressed schedule. So before we close out and say goodbye, any final advice that you'd like to share, anything you think we might have missed, and then please do tell Onward Nation business owners the best way to connect with you, Erin.
Sure. So it's a good thing you're going to cut me off because I could talk about this stuff all day. So I need somebody to put a cap on me. Anyway, I will tell you that the best advice I ever received was to do less, to do more, do less, to do more. And what that means is if you need help with this, read the book Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt. And he helps you identify what activities are you doing throughout the day that you either you are good at and they move and you enjoy it. So proficient and passionate, What activities are you doing that you are good at, but you don't enjoy? I know everybody can think of activities like that. What activities are you doing that you enjoy, but they're not moving the needle for you? That's distraction. And then the last thing is drudgery. You don't enjoy it, and it's not moving the needle for you. And so what happens is, as you start to identify these activities in your day, you can start to pay attention to what it does to your energy level. And we all know we have things we have to do throughout the day that sap us energetically. And for me, I know drudgery is email. So for example, if I'm somebody who's always checking my email all day, well, my energy level gets depleted and I bring forth a version of myself that's a little bit flat, a little more low energy. And it's fine, right? We can all muscle through even when we're not feeling our best. And what happens is our results will match whatever kind of energy we're bringing to our encounters in our life and business. And so I try to pay attention to what activities are in that, what he calls the desire zone. So proficient and passionate, like I enjoy it, I love it, and I know it's moving the needle for me. And I try to delegate, automate, and eliminate the rest. And then I try to spend 70% of my day in that desire zone so that I'm intentionally managing my energy so that I bring the best version of myself forward and that it results in a magnetism that attracts my success, like I said, as a lighthouse rather than like a hunter. And then plan out, when am I going to do those other activities that I know I have to do, but I also know what they do to me energetically. So I map out my day with intention and not allowing responding to emails, incoming texts, all this other stuff to hijack my day, my energy, my productivity, because I want to feel, we all became self-employed. If you're listening and you're an entrepreneur, most of us were in pursuit of something, right? Freedom and flexibility. And I see far too many people go out into the world as entrepreneurs, and whether they're hungry and they're trying to build, they find themselves working around the clock and available all the time and constantly plugged in and tuned in and turned on, and they're exhausted and they're energetically flat, right? Or they've achieved some level of success and they've never put boundaries in place. So they don't even know how to. They just feel like, I'm going to pat myself up in the back and tell myself I'm grateful and I'm lucky because the money's coming in. And I remember how painful it was to be broke and hungry. And I don't ever want to go back there. So the fear propels us to stay on this hamster wheel as a trade-off for success. And I see too many people suffering, whether they're successful or they're hungry, they're suffering because they have not yet realized how to plan their day and then permit themselves the freedom and flexibility that they were seeking to begin with. So you were after something, then you don't actually allow yourself that. You don't allow yourself to put your feet up and read a book. You're always looking at emails, always on social media, never fully present, like physically present with our kids and our spouses and our loved ones and our friends, but mentally preoccupied in somewhere else because we haven't set any rules for what winning the day or winning the week looks like. And we're not setting boundaries. And it's very pervasive in our society, in our country, in entrepreneurship. And I really highly encourage people to pay attention to what activities you're allowing into your day and what are they doing to your energy and how's that affecting your results and your happiness, which ultimately is the most important thing, is our happiness, right? So
love it. And that's why you're all about pursuing freedom and flexibility. I love it. Best way to connect with you?
Probably the easiest way would be to follow me on Instagram at Pursuing Freedom Official and DM me there. You can also email me at erin@pursuingfreedom.com. You can visit pursuingfreedom.com to find resources and the podcast and all good things. And I am always, always happy to chat with anyone about anything and be a resource because I truly believe that everything that you ever dreamed of is available to you. It's already here. It's available. You just have to decide. And then you need to decide how you're going to go about living your life and let your business be a vehicle to support that vision and not rob you of it.